Should you buy it in your personal name or your limited company? That's what we're going to cover in today's video. Well, let's jump into the obvious one you all want to know about: tax. Now, tax is so boring, right? No, actually, tax is your friend. If you don't realize that yet, you got to get on top of it. Think of it this way: at a certain level of wealth, each pound that you make, you are actually receiving 50 pence, which is thoroughly enjoyable, and I'm a great fan of the government for introducing this for us. However, sometimes you kind of don't want to pay all of that 50 pence. So in tax, if you get it right, a pound saved is a pound earned. So let's look at the two situations. So on one side, you've got the limited company, and on the other, you've got the personal name. Well, often people go, well, buying in a limited company is going to be more tax efficient, right? Well, first of all, this is going to depend on your personal situation. For example, if you are a 20% taxpayer, it's not really going to be that much difference. First of all, I am not a qualified financial advisor, so nothing covered in here is to be taken as financial advice. So, limited company is 19% corporation tax. So in general, not that much difference. And when you take into the fees, etc., it's really not worthwhile. So not going to bother going through that. But what about scenario 2, where you are a higher income taxpayer at 40% and you could pay 19%? Well, again, it's not quite that simple. First of all, we've got some changes coming into play in 2023. Thanks again, government, which takes corporation tax up to 25%. It doesn't quite go to 25%. It's the first 50 grand. Profit is 19%, and then it steps up as you are going through. But check the government website for that. Let's say you are earning 50k as an example in both scenarios. Well, on this side, you're going to go, right, I'm going to get 30k of that. And the reason for that is I've just taken off 40%. Cool. On this side, let's call it 20% just to make the numbers easy for all of you to follow. And I say for you, it's really for me working it out. All right. So you're now going to get £40,000. Well, surely, fairly obviously, you're going to want the limited company route. Maybe not. What if you actually want to utilize that money? Well, on this side, you can do what you want. You paid your tax, you spend it, you own this money, right? But Jamie, I own this money as well. No, you don't. You own the limited company, and the limited company owns that money. So you haven't paid any tax. The company has. That seems to take people a while to get their head around, but this is a corporate entity. Including the properties in there, you don't own them, the company does. So what about if you want to spend the money? Let's say, I don't know, I've got a wedding coming up. I'm going to need to spend this money, right? Well, first of all, you're going to want to take that out. Your company cannot pay for a wedding. No, you shouldn't be paying for a wedding through your company, right? So you're going to need to take that out. And then when you take this out, you are then going to pay dividend tax. Just because, why not? Let's add more tax into this. Well, dividend tax, honestly, by the time you're even watching this, it could have changed. There used to be a lot of loopholes. You used to be able to pay you 5 grand, pay your partner 5 grand, pay your mum, your granddad, your nan 5 grand, all tax free. Now that has closed up those loopholes. So you're then going to pay, dependent where you're up to 37.5% tax again on this. All right, but let's say it meets in the middle, dependent on your situation. Let's say it's another 20%. By the way, there isn't a 20% dividend tax at the time of filming this, but just as an average. So you're then going to pay another £8,000. So now you've got 32,000. So actually, still better. Well, yes, but then you've also got your accounting fees on top, which might cost you another couple of grand every year. So really, we're pretty much the same. So from a tax perspective, the answer is, it depends. And I know that's really not helpful, but honestly, the answer is talk to a qualified accountant that knows their shit, share your goals with them, and your aspirations, and you're going to get a better answer. And this is one of those. The better that you can construct your question, the better answer you're going to get. So from a tax perspective, it's going to depend largely what you're paying here, what your plans are here, and how much profit you want to make overall. The next thing we want to look at is the legal liability of this. So if you own it in your personal name, look at how happy you are there, then you own everything within it, which means you have all of the liability of it, and you also get all of the benefit, so the asset of it, which is good, all of the pros, all of the cons. But what happens is, for example, if somebody goes in the property, breaks their leg, you need to be insured as an individual because you can get sued as an individual. What happens if it's in a limited company? Well, the best way of thinking about this is kind of a fence around it. So it's ring fenced, and then you, still happy, you own the company. Now, this takes a while to get people's head around. You think, it's just pedantics, it's paperwork. Well, actually, no, it really does matter. So if you've got this property here, you don't actually own the property. You own the company, and the company owns the property. You think, well, I own the property then. No, you don't. You own the corporate wrapper, which is good and bad. So the bad bit, frankly, is your ego. Because people are like, oh, I need to own it, I need to own it. Well, let's think about one of, in my opinion, the most successful entrepreneur that has ever lived, J.D. Rockefeller. Almost everything. He had if you adjust for inflation, he was the first ever net wealth trillionaire. And he was famous for the quote, own nothing, control everything. So this is another version of this. You don't own any property, but you control the whole thing. But the other thing that I love about this is the liabilities are limited. So when something goes wrong, and in property, it is a when it goes wrong, your liability, unless you break the law deliberately, at which point there's something called piercing the corporate vow, which means then you are liable, and now you are not happy. But otherwise, just don't fuck around, and then it's all this limited liability forever. The only part of that, by the way, that is not true is something called a PG, or a personal guarantee. So when you get a mortgage, i.e. the bank is giving you some money, you are personally liable. So you can't just buy it and do a runner with the money. Make sense? Finally, trying to think about how I would draw the government on the board. Let me know in the comments, how would you draw the government? I'm going to be nice. I'm going to go with a government building. There you go. It's got loads of columns. This is the government. I don't know if you've noticed this, but the government is just less than friendly towards landlords recently. Is that true? I don't think so. I think they are against you as an individual Pete. Look at you. Small little Pete owning a couple of properties. We need to crush that. Because what they do love is the big old banks, which apparently are American now, for the sake of this video. And they love the corporate entity. So if you think about all the changes, so you've got something called Section 24. If you don't know what that is, it is purely a tax for those people that own buy-to-let properties as an individual. Did you know Section 24 tax does not apply to a business? What? That's absolutely insane. Some would say illegal, but the government can kind of do what they want, right? The bigger you are, do what you want. Not really here to judge, although I think it's quite clear what I'm judging there. So the reason I'm saying this is more and more, as I've been investing in property over the last 10 years, there's more changes in the market, there's more compliance in the market, and what I've definitely noticed is, you might have heard this from the World Economic Forum, you'll own nothing and be happy about it, all right? If you don't know what the World Economic Forum is, go and do your research, right? But you'll own nothing and be happy about it. There's definitely a movement that's been coming in the last few years, and I've definitely noticed a push where the average Joe, you, me, we are not meant to own our homes anymore. There's definitely this movement of the corporate entity owning them. So my personal opinion, and not to be taken as financial advice, is I am trying to protect my legacy. I'm trying to protect it for my kids. I'm trying to protect it for their kids. And the only way that I can imagine that happening is to make it harder for the government or anyone else to make legal changes. And the reason why I think it's better protected in a limited company is that the government would have to change the law for every limited company out there. And I just think that's so much less likely than changing the law for the average person that owns 2 or 3 buy-to-let properties in their personal name. Just my opinion. So let's face it, it's a bit of a minefield, and as I always say, consult with the experts. And I'm gonna say it, guys, I am not financially qualified, so please do not take any of this as financial advice. Check in with an expert. But one thing I am an expert in is building other people's portfolios. So if you're watching this and thinking, I've got 100 grand, I've got 150 grand, I want to invest, I want to build my portfolio, but it's a minefield. Well, that's where we come in. What we do is we build your portfolio, we source the property, negotiate it, get it through legals, get your finance, get it refurbed, and we handle the management in-house. So if you want to chat to us about that and you think it might be right for you, put APG in the comments and we'll reach out with a link. And what we'll do is we'll book in a free one-to-one strategy session where we'll just work out if we're actually the right people to help you build your portfolio. Let me know what you thought of the video in the comments, guys. If you are new to the channel, you want to find out more, you like what I'm talking about, and you want to find out loads about property, then make sure to hit the subscribe and the notification bell. And if you did get value, it helps out a lot if you just tap the like button on the way to your next video.